Everyone has a favorite character when it comes to media, even me. Harry Potter, Luna Lovegood. Little Witch Academia, Diana Cavendish. My Little Pony, Sunset Shimmer. RWBY has a large list of characters in its cast. A lot of them are actually very, very good characters, so finding a favorite shouldn't be too hard. Right? In this video, I will be counting down my top 10 favorite RWBY characters. This list may differ from your guys', as you might not like the characters I choose, or you think I left out a character you really like. Well, I'm sorry to say, but this is my list. If you want your favorite characters in a top 10 list, go make your own. Well, let's get started. Number 10. Everyone has a favorite new character when it came to the Final Festival. Two of the most popular characters seem to be Rhys Cloris and Arslan Alton, both from Team Auburn. I mean, I can see why. Rhys has a freaking hoverboard guns, and Arslan is very strong and based off of Aslan from the Chronicles of Narnia. Amazing book series with an amazing live-action adaptation series. Seriously, give us the silver chair. But for me, one character from one very interesting team caught my attention. My number 10 spot goes to the new Faunus we met in Volume 3, Neon Cat. Neon's design makes her stand out heavily from the rest of the cast. First off, she shows the most skin out of all the characters, even giving us a look at her bra. That's probably the only time that will happen, you sick pervs. I argue a ton about this decision in clothing when it comes to combat, as anime seems to have a negative stigma of having girls wear skimpy clothes. Well, majority of the time, it's for a good reason. The Sailor Senshi wear a leotard. Yes, it's a leotard, they're not giving us panty shots, because they do a lot of acrobatic moves and less restricted clothing gives them an easier time doing so. And Momoya Rozoru, the best character in My Hero Academia, wears less clothing because her quirk requires as much access to her skin as possible. Neon's choice in clothing makes me think this is easier for her when it comes to fighting and moving around. Her look also reminds me of rave party girls, with the highlights in her hair, the bright colors, and even her weapon, which is part glow stick. Neon also is very unique, being the only character who fights while rollerblading. One thing I hope gets brought up in Volume 7 is how Neon is treated in school. She's a Faunus in Atlas Academy. We saw through Ilia that Faunus aren't treated very well in Atlas, and yet Neon doesn't seem to have hardships at all. In fact, she was chosen to represent Atlas in the doubles round. I seriously hope Neon's school life is explored more in the future because this is seriously interesting. Number 9. Here we have our first main character on the list, but most definitely not the last. When we first met her, she wasn't a very nice character and everyone assumed she was a brat. But once you get to know her, she's very complex. I am, of course, talking about Weiss Shani. Weiss was extremely mean and entitled in the majority of Volume 1, but as she opened up more to her new team, we learn more about her. We find out she's very loyal and cares about the team staying together. After she finds out Blake is a Faunus, she loses her racism, seeing that not all Faunus were evil. This came into full circle in the Battle of Beacon when Weiss finally uses her summoning to save Velvet, a Faunus. We had hints at what Weiss's home life was like, but we see how bad it really was in Volume 4. Seeing Weiss become more rebellious and defiant is amazing, and seeing her leave the family behind is the best thing ever. Weiss has definitely had an amazing arc, and yet she's only number 9? Well, there are other characters I like more. Number 8. This character is one people still mourn and who I still consider the real Fall Maiden. Sorry, Cinder, but she deserves it more than you do. Yes, I am talking about Pyrrha Nikos. Pyrrha reminds me of Diana Cavendish, who you guys know is my favorite witch in Little Witch Academia. Pyrrha and Diana are both famous students at their respective schools and considered the best students. Because of this, Pyrrha and Diana are both placed on a pedestal above others and have a hard time making real relationships. Pyrrha and Diana also believe in helping others and working with kindness, even though their actions are different. Diana doesn't bully, yet can be harsh, but her motives are to help other students be their best selves, and she gets annoyed when other students aren't working as hard as she believes they should. Pyrrha is a bit like this, but she's never harsh. She acts very caring and tries to motivate people to be their best selves. Pyrrha was the first one to believe in Jean and takes time out of her schedule to help him better his skills. Pyrrha was chosen to be the Fall Maiden by Ozpin because of her personality and skills. She was not only skilled, but she's also humble, something a maiden should be. Pyrrha was also selfless, caring more about the well-being of others than herself. That's why she decided to fight Cinder. She knew her chances of winning were slim, but she still did what she could to save everyone, which cost her life. Pyrrha's sacrifice motivated RWBY and the rest of Pyrrha's team, making them stronger and willing to work hard to save everyone and move forward. Number 7. Weiss isn't the only Schnee on this list. Winter is such a cool character, pun intended. She is shown to have a rivalry with Crow, and that seemed to be the only time she lost her temper. Other than that, she's very calm and collected. Winter seems to be Weiss's influence to defy the Schnee family. Even though she is the oldest child, Weiss became the heiress instead of Winter, which may have been on purpose. Winter doesn't let losing the inheritance control her, however. She's a proud member of the Atlas military, and most likely Ironwood's strongest ally. Unlike the rest of the Schnee family, Winter loves Weiss and wishes for her to better herself. She pushes Weiss to work on her summoning and encourages her to become her own person instead of what their father wants her to be. For her relationship and influence on Weiss, Winter is my favorite member of the Schnee family. Number 6. This won't be the only tie on this list. Number 6 is held by two people who have gone through similar trials, yet were able to overcome them together. I am, of course, talking about my second favorite ship in the series, Blake Belladonna and Yang Xiaolong. These two have gotten a lot of hate lately, but honestly, I don't see why. I didn't care much for Blake earlier, but as time went on and as I met more Blake fans, she grew on me. I already really like Yang, but I feel she's incomplete without Blake. When Blake ran away after revealing she was a member of the White Fang to her teammates, Yang was the one encouraging Weiss to help look for Blake. It isn't much, but it was something. Their relationship really started to take off in Volume 2 when Yang opened up to Blake about her past and convinced her to not overwork herself. Plus, they share a cute dance together too. Now, to talk about them individually. Blake was pretty insecure at first. She hid her true nature from other people and ran away from her problems. After some time, Blake didn't hide her true self anymore and learned how to stand her ground. Blake also suffered from an abusive relationship with Adam Taurus. He still clouds her thoughts, and he tried to kill her at the Battle of Beacon. Thankfully, Blake was able to break free. In Volume 5, she outright said she didn't care about him anymore. He was still obsessed to the point of stalking her and attacking her when she was alone, but Yang was able to help her in the fight. Blake wasn't the only one who had issues with Adam. Yang lost her own arm to him. The attack gave her PTSD that she still suffers from. People say that Yang's portrayal of PTSD was unrealistic since she seemed to have just gotten over it quickly, but that is not the case at all. The time skip between volumes 3 and 4 seemed to last at least half a year. For at least a month, Yang was shown to still be in bed, not getting up. It may have taken her a while to even get out of bed to do things. Volume 4 was not meant to show Yang still suffering. It was meant to show Yang's road to recovery. The scene where Yang and Tai Yang were working with her new arm wasn't even an instant activity either. They literally state that they've been working for weeks. Yang still has issues when it comes to fighting as well. PTSD doesn't just go away, and Yang's never went away. You do, however, have the ability to push through PTSD. You can't let a mental issue control your life forever. That's a lesson I'm still learning. So, yeah, stop saying Yang's PTSD is unrealistic because you have no idea how long she's been recovering, and people handle things differently. Sorry, that was something I was holding in for a long time. Anyway, Blake and Yang. I love these two girls, and together they are stronger than by themselves. Number 5. This character has gotten a ton of development recently due to the After the Fall book, but she already drew me and many others in with the 2 volumes she was in. Coco Adel, the leader of Team Coffee, just oozes with style and confidence. Having a handbag that turns into a cannon is one of the coolest things ever, and being a second-year student at Beacon, she may have had a ton of experience. In the book, Coco's semblance, which is awesome, was revealed, as well as her fear of tight spaces and the fact that she's a lesbian, which people already predicted. Coco, in my mind, is the best team leader. She cares about her team, she's ready for almost everything, she's reliable, and she's a confident young woman. She also has a positive effect on Velvet, who used to be very timid. I see the 2 of them as almost like an older sister keeping an eye out for her little sister. All in all, Coco is the best team leader in my mind, and I'm excited to see what else she gets into in the sequel novel. Number 4. Another tie! This time, however, the only thing these 2 have in common is their gender. This spot is for my 2 favorite male characters in RWBY, Wren and Crow Bronwyn. Wren was introduced as sort of a straight man to Nora's crazy antics, and he didn't really talk much either. As time went on, however, and he got more comfortable with his friends and teammates, he begins to talk more. He's also shown multiple times his skills in the kitchen. You really gotta love a man who cooks. Volume 4 had many arcs in it, but the best arc next to Weiss's was Wren's. We got to see him as a child before he became an orphan. He used to be scared easily and afraid to stop bullies. However, when the time came, he learned how to be brave, and this bravery drove him to face the monster who killed his family and defeat it. The fact that Wren still has his father's dagger and is now prominent on his outfit is very touching. Also, his instrumental theme, which you are listening to right now, is beautiful and needs to be recognized more as his theme. Crow was talked about a ton in volumes 1 and 2, but we never officially met him until volume 3. His introduction was well worth the wait. Crow was introduced as a cool guy who drinks a ton and cares about his nieces, especially Ruby. As time went on, we find out how complex Crow really was. He and his sister grew up with bandits, but he decided to leave after learning the truth about the world of Remnant. He dedicates his time to making things right, but he has a huge burden on his shoulders. His semblance misfortune works well and fights against enemies, but this also means he brings bad luck to others and himself. This caused him to fall into depression, with drinking as a coping strategy. All in all, Wren and Crow are very complex guys, and they're both very enjoyable characters. Number 3. Now it's time to talk about my favorite villain. This girl doesn't say much, but honestly, she doesn't need to. Neapolitan is a mute character with a very interesting design. She's heavily inspired by Neapolitan ice cream with all the pink, white, and brown on her. It's not just her appealing design that makes her a well-loved character. Her fighting skills and her semblance also make her appealing as well. Neo has been shown to be a very capable fighter, almost killing Yang and being able to hold up against a maiden. Her semblance, known as hyperactive imagination, allows her to change her appearance and location with glass-like effect. Neo is also shrouded in mystery. Her theme song, One Thing, hints towards her having a troubled past with loneliness. It would be great to learn more about her in the future, but for now, she's still an amazing girl. Number 2. You all may be aware that I've included 3 of the 4 members of Team RWBY on my list. Well, all 4 girls are on the list because number 2 is the main protagonist, Ruby Rose. I hear so many people complain on how bland Ruby is and how she doesn't develop at all. Well, those guys are just as wrong as the guys who say Yang's PTSD was unrealistic. Ruby started out as a child who romanticized about the idea of becoming a huntress without any idea on what the real world was like. As time grew, Ruby learned that the world isn't just kill any groom you see, but rather think before you act. Her witnessing death with her own eyes also drove her to try to find answers and protect those who need it. Ruby is constantly learning. She's learning to question things around her, she's learning to be a stronger fighter, and she's learning how to use her silver eyes. Ruby is no longer a little girl naive about the world around her. She is a strong girl working hard to better herself and be capable of helping those she needs to. Honorable mentions. Maria Cavalera. She's the newest character I talk about. Maria, when she was young, was a legendary fighter who sadly had to retire after losing her eyes. She now is part of Ruby's little band and acts as a mentor to her on using her eyes. Maria also has a ton of sass and is very funny. Glinda Goodwitch. Glinda is my favorite member of Beacon staff. She is probably the best semblance ever and she handles things pretty well. She's very serious and takes no nonsense from anyone. Penny Polendina. Penny is an adorable girl who cares so much about friendship. She and Ruby are adorable together. Penny is also extremely polite, thanking Team Cardinal for their fight in the Fightle Festival, and addressing those she doesn't know with formality. Penny is just a pure girl through and through. Roman Torchwick. You can't love Neo without liking Roman Torchwick. Those two are an amazing duo and an adorable ship. Roman is a very fun villain, acting just like one of those Saturday morning cartoon villains. He's a very fun character. Oscar Pine. Oscar is an adorable boy. He was at first defiant on listening to Ozpin, but now accepts him as part of his life. Oscar is willing to do what he can to help. Sun Wukong. Sun is the kind of friend anyone would wish to have. He's cool, he's loyal, and he's got great people skills. He is at his best when he's with Blake, and he cares deeply about her. He's also pretty funny. Fox Alistair. Fox didn't speak much in the main series, but after the fall gives him a ton of moments to shine. His backstory is very similar to Wren's, but Fox has the added burden of being blind. Having telepathy as a semblance would work very well with him, plus he shows what having a disability in Remnant is like. Velvet Scarlatina. Velvet was originally introduced to show Faunus Prejudice, but she quickly became a fan favorite. She was also used in a very touching fight dedicated to Monty using fights he animated while he was alive as the basis for her moves. Klein Sieben. J. Michael Tatum is one of my favorite anime voice actors, voicing such characters as Scar, Sebastian Michaelis, and Kyoya Otori. Finding out he was in RWBY as Weiss's beloved butler was amazing. Klein is just a big sweetheart and a way better father to Weiss. I also loved how they introduced the Seven Dwarves element to him as well. Number 1. This one should come as a surprise to absolutely nobody. Nora Valkyrie clicked on me when I first saw her. She reminded me a bit of the genie from Aladdin. She's funny, energetic, and very caring. Seeing Nora's backstory also explains a lot of things, like how her eating a lot may be because she used to have no food at all, and why she decided to make her weapon a hammer. But the most important thing about her is her relationship with Wren. She used to deny having feelings for him due to thinking it was awkward to like somebody you've known for a long time, but she did fall in love with him. And thankfully, he returned her feelings. She may be bubbly, but Nora can be very serious when time calls for it. The moment she told Wren to not blindly attack the Nuckleaf, and that she wasn't going to let himself get killed by it, that moment was when Nora showed her true feelings. Nora is a very dynamic character who still has lighthearted, funny moments to keep the show from going too dark. And this is why I consider Nora Valkyrie to be my favorite RWBY character. Like I said, if you don't agree with my list, go ahead and make your own. These are my personal favorite characters in the show, and I stand by what I think until the show introduces a new character that I will fall in love with. Thank you guys for watching, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. Bye!